Recruiting becomes more important and complex as labor markets evolve. Let's take a look at strategic recruiting. Recruiting is the process of generating a qualified pool of applicants. Strategic recruiting involves the following activities: understanding how the business strategies impact how and where to successfully recruit qualified employees. Identifying keys to success in the labor market, including competitors' recruiting efforts. Determining the appropriate balance between quality and quantity of workers needed. Recognizing the resource limits of time and money related to fulfilling recruiting activities. And finally, measuring the effectiveness of the recruiting effort itself. Recruitment planning can pinpoint not only the kinds and numbers of applicants, but also how difficult recruiting efforts may be depending on the type of jobs being filled. In addition, effective recruiting focuses on discovering talent before it's needed. The employment brand is the distinct image of the organization that captures the essence of the company to engage employees and outsiders. The brand is a set of qualities that promises a unique employment experience. There are many best employer surveys, lists that rank organizations in terms of employee engagement, job satisfaction, benefits, flexible schedules, corporate social responsibility, and other employee-friendly characteristics. Companies identified as these best places to work receive significantly more applicants than those that don't make the grade. Managing the employment brand is best achieved through a partnership between HR and marketing staff. Organizations spend considerable effort and money establishing brand images for their products. This same attention must be spent on developing an employment brand based on the benefits and opportunities offered to employees. Successfully managing an employment brand doesn't happen by accident. To create and advertise the compelling story behind your company, take the time to identify your employment brand and determine what makes your organization unique. The following tips may help you get the most out of your branding efforts. Leverage your corporate brand. Your company may already be well known for its products and services. Use that name recognition to connect with prospective employees. Use the 80-20 rule. When advertising jobs, be sure to spend most of the time talking about the job, 80%, and less time promoting your brand, 20%. Engage visitors. Use videos of employees rather than text to deliver brand messages. Encourage current employees to spread the word. Get employees to talk to others in their personal and professional networks. And finally, mobilize your message. Create an easy-to-use mobile career site that allows users to connect on the go. Your employment brand can create a positive perception if the organization also highlights the employee value proposition, which is developed by focusing on the company's commitment to employee excellence and development. Keep in mind that the employment brand must reflect the genuine work environment and not simply be a marketing creation that doesn't match the true experience of life inside the organization. Core workers are those employees that are fundamental to the business. They typically work year-round, and the organization invests in their development. Many employers have determined that keeping a large core workforce is too costly and limits flexibility. A large number of employment regulations also constrains the employment relationship, making many employers reluctant to hire new full-time core employees. Flexible workers, on the other hand, are hired as needed. Thinking of the supply chain, they are just-in-time workers who are employed for specific projects or periods of time. Flexible staffing involves workers who are not traditional employees. Alternative employment is becoming much more common in the United States as well as around the world. Over 1/5 of U.S. workers are considered part of the flexible workforce. Using flexible staffing arrangements allows an employer to avoid some of the cost of full-time benefits, such as vacation pay, healthcare, and pension plans. Flexible staffing may lead to recruiting in different markets, since it includes using temporary workers and independent contractors. Despite the many benefits, there are also some challenges associated with using flexible staffing, including low motivation, low performance, and increased costs. Over 3 million workers per day are employed as temporary workers. Employers can hire their own temporary staff members or contract with agencies that supply temporary workers on an hourly, daily, or weekly basis. Originally developed to provide clerical and office workers to employers, temporary workers in professional, technical, and even managerial jobs are becoming more common. This reality is driven by the many benefits that these workers provide organizations. Some employers hire temporary workers as a way to screen individuals to move into full-time regular employment. Better performing workers may move to regular positions when these positions are become available. This try before you buy approach is potentially beneficial to both employers and employees. Some firms employ independent contractors as workers who perform specific services on a contract basis. These workers must be truly independent as determined by regulations used by the U.S. Internal Revenue Service and the U.S. Department of Labor. One major reason employers use independent contractors is to obtain significant savings because benefits are not provided to these individuals. Many freelancers moonlight, supplement their income from traditional job or contract work, or they have multiple sources of income, including contract assignments. Organizations can mix and match the core workforce with temporary and contract workers as their business needs change. Diversity is the mix of differences that make a difference. Recruiting activities are subject to various equal employment laws and regulations. As part of legal compliance in the recruiting process, organizations may work to reduce disparate impact or underrepresentation of protected class members compared to the labor market utilized by the employer. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or EEOC guidelines state that no direct or indirect statements of protected characteristics are permitted in recruiting materials or advertisements. These guidelines affect interviews, advertisements, and other recruiting activities. Some examples of inappropriate terminologies are young and enthusiastic, Christian values, and journeyman or lineman. Also, advertisements should contain wording about being an equal opportunity employer. Employers demonstrate an inclusive recruiting strategy by having diverse individuals represented in company materials, in advertisements, and as recruiters. Applicants pay attention to the diversity message of recruiting materials. When workforce diversity is showcased in recruiting ads, applicants of all races are more likely to pursue employment with the organization. The growth in racial and ethnic workforce diversity means that a wider range of potential employment sources should be utilized. Changes in diversity also need to be monitored and evaluated to ensure that the workplace, through properly managed recruiting strategies, is representative of the population's demographics. Studies have shown that women are less likely to apply when a job ad contains masculine-sounding words such as determined, assertive, or aggressive. Women are more likely to apply when words like dedicated, responsible, or conscientious are used in advertisements. Men don't seem to be influenced one way or the other, so there's little downside to using gender-balanced adjectives in recruiting ads. The work values and preferences found among different generations can impact every aspect of the employment experience. In terms of recruiting, distinct approaches may be needed to connect with members of different generations. Understanding and adapting to these differences can make a real difference in dramatically increasing the effectiveness of your recruiting. Labor markets are the supply pool from which employers attract employees. Several methods can be used to identify labor markets. One useful approach is to take a broad view of labor markets and then narrow them down to specific recruiting sources. The broadest labor market component and measure is the labor force population, which is made up of all individuals who are available for selection if all possible recruitment strategies are used. For firms with operations in multiple countries, the labor force population can be much larger than that of a business operating only in one country. The applicant population is a subset of the labor force population that is available for selection if a particular recruiting approach is used. This population can be broad or narrow depending on the jobs needing to be filled and the approaches used by the employer. The applicant pool consists of all persons who are actually evaluated for selection. Many factors can affect the size of the applicant pool, including the reputation of the organization and industry, a company's screening efforts, the job specifications, and the information available. The availability of employment and labor in terms of supply and demand has a significant impact on your recruitment efforts. Applicant record keeping is the maintenance of a history of applicants and the application process. It is useful to develop an applicant tracking system when considering the applicant pool. Using such a system can make the recruitment process more effective. Employers must collect data on applicant race, sex, and other demographics to fulfill EEO reporting requirements. Many employers ask applicants to provide EEOC reporting data on a separate form that may be attached to the application form. To avoid claims of impropriety, it's important that employers review and store this information separately and not use it in any selection decisions. Since completing the form is voluntary, employers can demonstrate that they've tried to obtain the data. An applicant tracking system, or ATS, is a software application that enables the electronic handling of recruitment needs. An ATS can be implemented or accessed online, depending on the needs of the organization. There's also free and open source ATS software available. Labor markets are the supply pool from which employers attract employees. To provide information that's useful for recruiting, labor markets can be viewed in several ways. These labor markets can include both internal and external sources. Organizations recruit in many labor markets, including industry-specific and occupational, educational and technical, and geographic. Labor markets can be classified by industry and occupation. For example, the biggest increase in U.S. jobs until the year 2020 will be in the fields of healthcare, healthcare support, construction, and personal care fields. These jobs represent the healthcare, retail, and education industries. A shortage of qualified applicants will make filling these jobs more difficult during the next few years. Another way to look at labor markets is by considering the educational and technical qualifications that define the people being recruited. Employers need individuals with specific licenses, certifications, or educational backgrounds. One common way to classify labor markets is based on geographic location. Markets can be local, area or regional, national or international. Local and area labor markets vary significantly in terms of workforce availability and quality, and changes in the geographic labor market may force changes in recruiting efforts. Different labor markets provide a diversity of opportunities for your recruitment initiatives. But before we talk about technology for recruitment, we need to define technology, which is a system of practical knowledge and problem solving to create tools. An important new skill for recruiters is building and accessing connections via social media. Virtual online communities are a goldmine of networking opportunities for organizations looking to identify talent, particularly passive job candidates who are qualified individuals that aren't actively looking for work but might be interested if the right job comes along. A well-known professional social networking website is LinkedIn. Individuals create a professional profile and can link to other users as well as companies they might want to work for. LinkedIn's focus is professional networking, and therefore it can be a powerful way to expand candidates' job search options. Likewise, organizations can create employer branding content and invite users to link in with them. This identifies potential employees and helps spread the word about job vacancies. Social, legal, and employment-related messages can be transmitted using Twitter. Recruiters tweet messages to both active and passive job candidates and then follow up with longer emails to facilitate recruitment. Many internet job boards such as Indeed, Monster, Glassdoor, and CareerBuilder provide places for employers to post jobs and to search for candidates. These broad-based job boards offer access to numerous candidates across a wide range of professions and jobs. Many professional associations have employment links on their websites. Use of these targeted websites may reduce recruiters' search time and efforts. Also, posting jobs on such websites is likely to target applicants specifically interested in the job field and may reduce the number of less qualified applicants in your job pool. Despite the popularity of job boards and association job sites, many employers have learned that their own company website can be very useful when recruiting candidates and reinforcing employer brand. Employers include employment and career information on their websites under such headings as employment, jobs, or careers. This is the place where recruiting, both internal and external, is often conducted. Many of these job sites offer job seekers the opportunity to email resumes, submit them online, or complete online applications. Organizations are using scavenger hunts, trivia contests, games, puzzles, and other interactive competitions to interject excitement into the hiring process. Gamification uses game thinking and software to engage people in solving problems. It leverages our natural desire to compete and achieve, and many people entering the workforce have grown up with video games and are very comfortable with these programs. Technology-enabled social networking continues to evolve. Job seekers and employers will continue to find new ways to connect, share information, and match the best applicants to jobs. Internal recruitment is used when the business looks to fill a vacancy from within its existing workforce. The most common internal recruiting methods include organizational databases, job postings, career plans, current employee referrals, and re-recruiting of former employees and applicants. Human Resource Information Systems, or HRIS, allow HR staff to maintain background and knowledge, skills, and abilities, or KSA information on existing employees. As openings arise, HR can access databases by doing keyword searches or receiving a listing of current employees meeting certain requirements. Software can sort employee data by occupational fields, area of career interests, previous work histories, and other variables. A primary way to recruit current employees for other jobs within the organization is a simple job posting, a system in which the employer provides notices of job openings and employees respond by applying for specific openings. Without some sort of job posting system, it's difficult for many employees to find out what jobs are open elsewhere in the organization. Job postings have moved from flyers on a bulletin board to real-time job listings on a company intranet. The purpose of the job posting system is to provide employees with more opportunities to move within the organization. Jobs are generally posted internally before any external recruiting is done. The organization should allow a reasonable period of time for current employees to check notices of available jobs before it considers external applicants. Many organizations try to fill vacancies through promotions or transfers from within whenever possible. Integrating employee career plans with internal job opportunities can reduce employee turnover, enhance individuals' skills and talents, and improve productivity. A reliable source of people to fill vacancies is colleagues, friends, and family members of current employees. Current employees can acquaint potential applicants with the advantages of a job within an organization, furnish emails and the means of introductions, and encourage candidates to apply. However, relying too heavily on them is an exclusive recruiting method that may cause problems regarding equal employment regulations if diverse applicants are underrepresented in the organization's current workforce. Former employees and applicants are another source for recruitment. Both groups offer a time-saving advantage because something is already known about them. Commonly known as boomerangs, individuals who have left an organization for other jobs are sometimes willing to return because the other positions and employers turned out to be less attractive than initially thought. Some organizations welcome them back, while others turn a cold shoulder. Some organizations have established alumni networks to keep in contact with individuals who have left, but to also allow the organization to recruit individuals as appropriate openings arise. The idea of these networks began in the consulting industry, but have spread to financial services, technology, manufacturing, and other industries. Some of the alumni networks are established by the organization, while others are created by the alumni themselves. In either case, they can be a valuable source of candidates who are familiar with the organization and might be great rehires. Another potential source consists of former applicants. Although they're not entirely an internal source, information about them can be found in the organization's files or applicant database. Recontacting those individuals who've previously applied for jobs and had good qualifications can be a quick and inexpensive way to fill unexpected openings. Internal recruitment offers efficient and cost-effective solutions for your recruiting needs. External recruitment is when an organization looks to fill a vacancy from any suitable applicant outside the organization. Media sources such as newspapers, magazines, television, radio, and billboards have been used widely in external recruiting. Some firms have sent direct mail using purchase lists of individuals in certain fields or industries. Human resource recruiters should measure the responses that different ads generate to evaluate the effectiveness of various sources. The easiest way to track responses to ads is to use different contact names, email addresses, or phone number codes in each ad so that the employer can identify which advertisement has prompted each applicant response that's received. Other sources for recruiting include professional and trade associations, trade publications, and competitors. Many professional societies and trade associations have websites or publications that provide job ads to their members. Such sources may be useful for recruiting specialized professionals. Employment agencies, both public and private, are a great recruiting source. For a fee collected from either the employee or the employer, these agencies do some preliminary screening and put employers in touch with applicants. Private employment agencies differ considerably in the levels of service, cost, policies, and types of applicants they provide. The size of the fees and the aggressiveness with which some employment agencies pursue candidates for executive and other openings have led to such firms being called headhunters. These employment agencies focus their efforts on executive, managerial, and professional positions. Employers that need to fill a large number of jobs quickly may participate in job fairs and special recruiting events. Job fairs have been held by economic development entities, employer and HR associations, and other community groups to help bring employers and potential job candidates together. Job fairs can give participating organizations access to a very large pool of applicants. College and university students are a significant source of entry-level professional and technical employees. Most universities maintain career placement offices where employers and applicants can meet. High schools and vocational or technical schools may be a valuable source of new employees for some organizations. Many schools have a centralized guidance or placement office. Participating in career days and giving company tours to school groups are ways to maintain good contact with school sources. Cooperative programs in which students work part-time while attending school may also generate qualified future applicants for full-time positions. The benefits of fresh blood, new ideas and approaches, less resentment from other in-house employees passed over during the hiring, and the maximization of the candidate pool size have to be weighed against advertising, interviewing, orientation, and training costs calculated in terms of time and money, to which must be added the risk of antagonizing the existing employee who are expected to get the job. All are factors of external recruitment. The primary way to discover whether recruiting efforts are financially effective is to conduct formal analysis as part of recruiting evaluation. The emergence of big data and analytics is making the process easier than it was in the past. Various other factors can be measured when evaluating recruiting as well. Organizations evaluate recruiting effectiveness to see how their recruiting efforts compare with their goals and budget, past patterns, and the recruitment performance of other organizations. Measures of recruiting effectiveness can be used to see whether sufficient numbers of targeted population groups are being attracted and to determine the best sources of applicants. Information about job performance, absenteeism, cost of training, and turnover by recruitment source helps adjust future recruiting efforts. Since the goal of a good recruiting program is to generate a large pool of applicants from which to choose, quantity is a natural place to begin evaluation. The basic measure here considers whether the quantity of recruits is sufficient to fill job vacancies. A related question is, does recruiting at its source provide enough qualified applicants with an appropriate mix of diverse individuals? In addition to quantity, a key issue is whether the applicant's qualifications are sufficient to enable the organization to fill the job openings. Do the applicants meet job specifications, and do they perform the jobs well after hire? Measures that can be used include performance appraisal scores, months until promotion, production quality, and sales volume for each hire. There are several ways in which you should measure the effectiveness of your recruiting efforts. Let's take a look. Looking at the length of time it takes to fill openings is a common means of evaluating recruiting efforts. If openings are not filled quickly with qualified candidates, the organization's work and productivity are likely to suffer. If it takes 45 days to fill vacant positions, managers who need employees will be unhappy, and unfilled positions cost money. Further, it may tarnish customer reputations if the company cannot deliver what's promised. Different formulas can be used to evaluate recruiting costs. The calculation most often used to measure such costs divides total recruiting expenses for the year by the number of hires for that year. The problem with this approach is accurately identifying items that should be included in those recruiting expenses. Because recruiting activities are important, the cost and benefit associated should be analyzed. A cost-benefit analysis of recruiting efforts may include both direct costs like advertising, recruiting salaries, travel and agency fees, and indirect costs like the involvement of operating managers, public relations, and so on. Cost-benefit information on each recruiting source can be calculated. One means for evaluating recruiting efforts is yield ratios, which compare the number of applicants at one stage of the recruiting process with the number at the next stage. The result is a tool for approximating the required size of the initial applicant pool. It is useful to visualize yield ratios as a pyramid in which the employer starts with a broad base of applicants and progressively narrows. Another useful calculation is the selection rate, which is the percentage hired from a given group of candidates. It equals the number hired divided by the number of applicants. For example, a rate of 30% indicates 3 out of 10 applicants were hired. The selection rate is also affected by the validity of the selection process. A relatively unsophisticated selection program might pick up 8 out of 10 applicants for the job. 4 of those might turn out to be good employees. A more valid selection process might pick out 5 of 10 applicants, but 4 of the 5 perform well. Selection rate measures not just recruiting, but selection issues as well. So do applicable rate and success base rates. Calculating the acceptance rate helps identify how successful the organization is at hiring candidates. The acceptance rate is the percentage of applicants hired divided by the total number of applicants offered jobs. A longer-term measure of recruiting effectiveness is the applicant's success base rate. The success base rate can be determined by comparing the number of past applicants who have become successful employees against the number of applicants they competed against for their jobs, using historical data within the organization. Recruiting effectiveness can be increased by using evaluation data to target different applicant pools, tap broader labor markets, change recruiting methods, improve internal handling and interviewing of applicants, and train recruiters and managers.